This guy is just a normal agricultural water pipe seller during the day. However, at night, he sells weapons to assassins for millions of won per item. Also, because of dealing with assassins, this job is very dangerous. Once an incident happened and that guy went missing for 8 years. But he suddenly returned, surprising everyone in the family. Everyone in the family thought he was dead. Suddenly, right after that, his mother passed away for unknown reasons. Jung Jin-man requested an autopsy on his mother to find out the cause of death. However, this request was strongly refused by his older brother because he wanted their mother to go peacefully. Later, the sister-in-law asked Jung Jin-man to help her take her daughter Young Jian home because she kept dropping and breaking things at the funeral. As Jung Jin-man was leaving with his niece, a man came to the funeral and introduced himself as an old friend of Jung Jin-man. As soon as Jung Jin-man took his niece home, did he receive a phone call from someone that announced a bad news. Jin-man immediately told his niece that he would return to the funeral home to meet her parents. He told her that his friend would come and ask Jian to open the door. He also told Jian to give that person a riddle and only open the door when they solved the riddle. Young Jian promised that she could do it and gave him the riddle herself. What animal that if you remove its tail becomes a horse? The answer is a cat. After that, the uncle left and promised to come back. After Jung Jin-man left, a young man appeared and tried to unlock the door. Jian looked through the door tray and asked the man to solve her riddle. What animal loses its tail that becomes a horse? But the man outside didn't say anything and directly unlocked the door. He walked into the house but was dragged outside by another person. Jian heard sounds of fighting outside. Then, a young man walked in and gave the answer, cat, written on his phone, then continued to introduce himself as Jung Jin-man's friend. When he discovered that someone was coming, the young man asked Young Jian to go into the room and wait a bit. Jian entered the room and saw that this stranger had an iron bracelet on his hand. A long-haired man with a gun entered the house. Inside the room, Jian heard screams outside. When she looked out the crack of the door, she saw Jung Jin-man's friend being handled by a man. Two strangers entered the room and searched every corner for Jian. The man in suit discovered that the window was open. When he poked his head out, he saw the little girl Jian clinging tightly to the iron bar below. He immediately praised Jian for being very brave, just like her uncle, and asked Jian to give him her hand so he could pull her up. But Jian lost her grip and landed neatly on the sofa that was already on the ground. The little girl quickly ran away but was suddenly hit by a car. Everyone around started running to see her condition. The long-haired man looked up at the boss in suit above him with helpless eyes. Jian was taken to the emergency room. Jian opened her eyes in a daze and heard that her parents had died at the funeral home. Her uncle Jung Jin-man was still unreachable. As evening came, Jian suddenly woke up and realized that someone was coming in. The long-haired man opened the door, walked in, and put the silencer on the gun. But when he opened the blanket, he only saw pillows underneath. Young Jian had already escaped outside in time. The little girl ran down the stairs and was chased by the long-haired man. Young Jian tried to open all the doors, but only the morgue could be opened. She immediately went inside. The long-haired man informed his accomplices that he had found Jian. Jian immediately opened the door to a chamber in this room. The long-haired man went in to search. Young Jian realized that the body lying next to her was her biological mother. The long-haired man proceeded to open each storage room to search for Jian. The little girl hugged her mother tightly to overcome her fear. An accomplice entered, but from behind, another person pointed a gun at the long-haired man. Jian trembled as she heard the explosions coming from outside. A moment later, Jung Jin-man opened the door of the storage room and saw his niece sleeping next to his sister-in-law. He immediately picked her up on his shoulder and covered his sister-in-law's body. Then, he carried the child, who had just lost both her parents, back home. A month later, Young Jin-man took his niece to a house in a remote area to live. As soon as entering the house, Jian tripped and fell. But the uncle did not help her up and said that he was not her parent, so he could not do what her parent has done for her. After saying that, the uncle walked into the house alone and let Jian carry her luggage into the house by herself. At night, when Jian fell asleep, the uncle looked at his niece and remembered that the doctor had concluded that Jian had signs of aphasia combined with dissociative amnesia. Because of the shock of losing both her parents, she needed to take medicine to treat it. Jung Jin-man went out and slapped himself in the face many times in a row. He blamed himself for indirectly causing the death of Jian's parents. Because of her speech disorder, Jian was constantly teased and picked on by her friends when she went to school. A fat classmate tried to bully her, but was stopped by Jung Min. When hearing this big guy say that Jian's mother was stabbed to death by her father because she had an affair, and that after committing the crime, Jian's father also departed from this life by himself, Jian immediately picked up a chair and hit straight on his head. When she got home from school, it was pouring rain. While everyone else had their parents come to pick them up, Jian was still alone, walking in the rain to go home. After going a short distance, her uncle Zhang Jinman drove a pickup truck to pick her up, but Jian was sulking and refused to get in the car. The uncle drove the car following his niece for a short distance, then coldly stepped on the gas to drive away. The cold life between the uncle and niece continued like that. Even though they had been together for a long time, Jinman did not show any concern for Jian. He let his niece be independent in everything. The uncle and niece did not need to use words to communicate with each other, but had to use the refrigerator door. If Jian wanted to buy something, she just had to write a note and stick it on the refrigerator door. The uncle also stuck money on the refrigerator door without giving it directly to his niece. Young Jinman was scolded by the teacher when he went to school. In addition to not being able to speak, Jian encountered many obstacles when interacting with her friends in class. But Young Jinman coldly said that he understood what the teacher meant, but he thought they should let Jian overcome her problems on her own. That day, Jian was thrown into the school's warehouse by 3 male classmates. The big classmate gave her a mouthful of spit, then coldly closed the warehouse door and locked it. Jian sat alone in the warehouse, haunted by the hand with the iron bracelet of the man who had come to her house to rescue her. She was extremely frightened and kept knocking on the door, then finally managed to utter her uncle's name to ask for help. At this moment, the uncle broke the door and came in and heard his niece's reproachful words. "Why did you come now? You said you would come back." Young Jinman immediately hugged his poor niece and said that he was sorry. Later, when he returning home, the uncle made grilled pork belly to treat his niece who had just overcome her speech disorder. The two of them sat down together and enjoyed the delicious food, and Jian can now also praise the delicious pork belly. After that, the uncle and niece looked at each other and smiled and ate happily together. Time passed, and the little girl Jian has now become a young woman and graduated from university. One day, Jian was taken to the police station. A man kept reporting to the police that he had been beaten by this girl. The police started reviewing the CCTV data. They saw a woman entering the restroom, then the man entered right behind her. After a while, both of them ran outside, and Jian was the last one to run out. After that, this man was cornered by Jian and beaten up for daring to enter the women's restroom. Jian kept asking to go home because it was obvious that the man was the one in the wrong, but the police told her that it was wrong to beat someone. The police said that the man was suing her for assault and that she needed to call her guardian to come to an agreement. With no other choice, Jian had to call her uncle Zhang Jinman, but the person who picked up the phone was a policeman and told Jian the shocking news that her uncle was dead. Jian sadly took a taxi home and recalled the memories of her uncle. At that time, she had gone far away from home to attend university. Even though she lived on the 5th floor, her uncle still came to her house to install a security bar for her. He also bought her a wardrobe made of bulletproof iron so that she could hide in case of an emergency. At that moment, Zhang Jinman looked at her student ID card and thought of something. He then took a picture of it with his phone and asked Jian to memorize her student ID number, like how she would memorize her citizen ID number. Jian then realized that the last thing he said to her was the number in her student ID card. Suddenly, the taxi driver asked Jian about her uncle Zhang Jinman and introduced himself as Zhang Jinman's best friend since middle school. He inquired about Zhang Jinman's health. When Jian replied that he had just passed away, the taxi driver abruptly stopped the car. The driver then took Jian to the hospital to claim Zhang Jinman's body and gave her some money to help pay for her uncle's funeral. Jian went into the morgue to identify her uncle's body, carrying an expression that had been familiar on her face since childhood. She became curious about the scar on her uncle's neck. The police officer explained that, based on the CCTV footage from around the house, no one had visited Zhang Jinman's residence. Therefore, so they concluded that Jian's uncle had departed from this life by himself. Jian quietly murmured that even in death, her uncle remained as incomprehensible as he had been in life. She then signed the necessary documents to claim his body. Jian noticed a tattoo on her uncle's hand that read, "Mirtha help." She began discussing funeral arrangements with the organizer. When the staff requested a portrait of the deceased for the memorial photo, Jian appeared confused. She then returned home to search for one. Suddenly, a young man walked in and introduced himself as Zhang Min. Jian recognized him as the boy who had stopped her from being beaten by the big guy at school when she was young. Then, this boy entered the house and used his phone to take a picture of Jian's big family, then used software to extract Zhang Jinman's portrait for Jian. Zhang Min introduced himself that he graduated as computer engineering. After being discharged from the army, he returned home and saw that Jian's uncle was recruiting including part-time workers. He said that he had helped Jian's uncle improve the agricultural water pipe sales website. He shared that he had only been there for a few days when Jian's uncle passed away. The last person to contact her uncle was him, and he was also the one who called the police. He said that Jian's uncle's body was found in the bathroom and said that he would help Jian clean up the place. As for Jian, she should take care of her uncle's funeral. After that, Jian stood up to preside for his uncle's funeral. The taxi driver also enthusiastically helped Jian receive the guests because Jian did not know who his uncle's friends were. Then, a pair of twins with sly faces walked in to pay their respects, while the long-haired man stood outside. The taxi driver tried to talk to the twins, but only received cold looks from them. At home, while cleaning the bathroom, Zhang Min found a push-button phone stored in the cabinet. At the funeral, Jian first heard close friends tell stories about her uncle. They also told her about the good deeds that Zhang Jinman had done to help people around him. Only then did Jian realize that she had lived with him for 10 years without knowing anything about him. After the funeral, Jian and her friends witnessed Uncle Zhang Jinman being taken to the crematorium. Later, when everyone was in the car to take Zhang Jinman's ashes to the cemetery, the uncle's friends kept gossiping about how Jian's niece did not shed a single tear during her uncle's funeral. Zhang Min comforted her so that Jian would not be saddened by those gossips. When returning home, Jian looked at the picture of her extended family and realized that everyone had passed away, leaving only her. The girl recalled the words that her uncle Zhang Jinman had said to her when they were living together under the same roof. Jian then began to cry uncontrollably and wondered if her uncle had been so tired and desperate. He had pretended to be so strong. Now, she was the only one left in the world, and she didn't know what to do. Suddenly, Zhang Min entered and saw his friend Jian, letting out the emotions she had been holding in for so long. Jian then admitted that she was not okay at all. She hoped Zhang Min would stay with her just a little longer. Jian rested her head on Zhang Min's shoulder and fell asleep from exhaustion. After that, Zhang Min showed Jian the 2G phone he had found in the restroom. Jian opened the phone and saw that someone had messaged to buy an item from her uncle, priced at 70 million won. The account balance of her uncle, Zhang Jinman, was 18.7 billion won. Jian then asked Zhang Min if anyone could make that much money just by selling agricultural tools. Jian asked Zhang Min to show her the website he had fixed for her uncle. Zhang Min accessed Zhang Jinman's irrigation pipe sales website. The young man analyzed the source code and found a page with the words Mirtha help on it. Jian realized that these words were the same as the ones on her uncle's hand. Zhang Min logged in and found that behind the security layers was a weapons trading website with items worth millions of won. At that moment, a message came through asking when the item would be delivered. Jian replied, saying the store was closed, and asked the customer to leave their account number for a refund. The customer responded by asking if Zhang Jinman was dead, and then said that, if so, then you must die today too. Zhang Min quickly unplugged the phone to prevent Jian from panicking and insisted they report it to the police. Suddenly that someone rang the doorbell. Jian went out to check and saw a short-haired woman. She introduced herself as Min Hie and said she was looking for Zhang Jinman. Jian told the woman that her uncle was not home and asked her to leave. However, the woman introduced herself as a Chinese teacher for Zhang Jinman and said she couldn't reach him, and she also had a gun hidden in her bag. Suddenly, Jian received a message that read, "Don't let anyone kill you. I will come and kill you myself." The short-haired woman continued to beg to be let inside and wait for Zhang Jinman to return. Jian replied that her uncle wouldn't be home today, so the woman should leave. The woman then pulled out the gun and said, "Your uncle always brags about how smart and pretty you are." Jian shook her head and responded, "My uncle never brags about me in front of anyone. Do you even really know my uncle?" Min Hee realized her words had no effect, so she walked out of the gate and drove away. Zhang Min ran out and called Jian to come see what he had just discovered. He explained that not everyone could buy items from the website. Only those with a special code could purchase specific items. There were 4 types of codes. The red code was for professional assassins who could buy weapons. The purple code was for spies who could buy surveillance equipment and cameras. The yellow code was for people who clean up crime scenes, allowing them to buy disposal solutions and materials for covering up evidence. The last one was the green code, and people with any other codes were not allowed to attack green code individuals. They were even had to sacrifice their lives to protect those with the green code. The green code included Zhang Jinman, the operator of the website, and Jian herself. Jian heard this and felt that this was extremely absurd. Suddenly that both of them heard gunshots outside, so they ran out to see. They saw a drone with a magazine attached and continuously firing bullets at the bulletproof glass of the house. house. Another drone attacked the side of the house. Jong-min wanted to call the police, but the phone had no signal. Ji-yeon immediately took Jong-min's hand and ran to the back of the house to escape, but was ambushed by another drone and pinned many dents on the bulletproof door. Another drone landed and pinned self-adhesive bombs on the bulletproof glass. Then these bombs also exploded. Ji-yeon and Jong-min went inside to avoid the shots from this state-of-the-art drone. The drone slowly flew into the house and continuously fired bullets at the cabinet where Jong-min was hiding inside. Then it launched a small bomb to break the cabinet door. Ji-yeon then used his slingshot to shoot at the plane, causing it to sway and fall to the ground. Ji-yeon used a chair to disable this killer plane. Ji-yeon proceeded to rally his friend, Jong-min's spirit. Then the two used the cabinet door as a bulletproof belt and stepped outside. Another plane flew by. Ji-yeon continued to use his slingshot, but this time she couldn't do anything to it. Then they received a rain of bullets from the drone. Outside, the girl Min-hye saw many planes appear, so she immediately took out her most modern equipment. Inside the house, Ji-yeon noticed that the plane was no longer attacking, so she immediately stuck her head out to look and saw a bomb stuck on the bullet shield. The bomb quickly exploded, sending both of them flying far away. When the plane was about to finish them both off, in the outside, the girl Min-hye held a machine gun and pulled the trigger, causing both drones to fall to the ground. Jong-min dragged his feet to escape outside, but was disabled by Min-hye and fell to the ground. Min-hye immediately scanned the code to check, but the watch reported an error. Then she gave the young man an injection, right into his neck. Ji-yeon came out with a slingshot and asked, "Are you the one who wants to kill me?" Then she also shot the short-haired woman with a rubber bullet that flew past her cheek. After that, Ji-yeon was disabled by the short-haired woman and scanned the code. A blue code appeared. As the two were about to fight each other with their bare hands, a bullet flew into the house. Min-hye kicked Ji-yeon away to avoid the incoming bullet, and the one who pulled the trigger was the long-haired man who was ambushing in a car. He was also being taken care of by his subordinates, so that he had enough alertness to shoot accurately. Inside the house, Min-hye now told Ji-yeon that she was here to protect her. Did she find it strange that her uncle asked her to shout "Jong-jin-man" 3 times to the sky whenever she was in danger? In the past 10 years, she had only done that 3 times. The first time when she was bullied in middle school, the second time when she was harassed in college, and this year when the convenience store owner cheated on her wages. She might not know it, but there is a code that was implanted in her arm. She and her uncle were the only 2 green codes. Anyone who had other codes had the obligation to protect her and her uncle. The girl who bullied her had transferred schools. The pervert from college had dropped out. The convenience store owner had an accident. She came here to protect Ji-yeon from those planes. Outside, a mercenary army had been mobilized to prepare to attack the house. As for the long-haired Lee Sung-jo, when he saw Ji-yeon peeking out, he fired another shot. Min-hye threw a smoke bomb to help block the long-haired man's vision outside. The long-haired man then ordered his men to help him deal with the smoke. A plane landed and proceeded to vacuum up all the smoke in the house. Then, this plane was also shot down by Min-hye. The long-haired man realized that Min-hye was in the house helping Ji-yeon, so he shot her in the arm, making the gun dropped on the ground. After that, Jong-min also woke up. Min-hye used a cloth to bandage her wound. Outside, the mercenaries started to swing down the bridge to prepare for a total attack on the house. Ji-yeon wanted to crawl out to get the dropped gun, but another bullet sent it flying under the chair. Ji-yeon trembled and tried to remember what Jong-jin-man had taught her. Take advantage of the blind spots of professional shooters. The girl picked up a piece of broken glass and tied it to a broom. Then she held the piece of glass outside, and immediately, the glass was shot to pieces. Ji-yeon continued to pick up another piece of glass but held it a little higher, but got the same result. When she got to the third piece of glass, the long-haired man outside missed and shot it up to the ceiling. Ji-yeon realized that the bullet was coming from a diagonal direction and from a very high place, so the blind spot would be above. Ji-yeon immediately climbed onto the refrigerator. The long-haired man noticed something was wrong and immediately ordered his subordinates to drive a little closer. Ji-yeon took a run and flew down onto the sofa and was hit by a bullet that flew through her back, but the girl still landed safely. Ji-yeon tried to reach for the gun under the chair. When she flipped the chair over, she saw a sniper rifle hidden under the chair. Min-hye immediately asked Ji-yeon if she had ever used this rifle before. Then she sat far away and instructed Ji-yeon on how to load and aim. Ji-yeon fired a shot that pierced the car window where the long-haired Lee Sung-jo was sitting. Min-hye immediately rushed out and pulled Ji-yeon up. A mercenary was about to finish off Jong-min when Min-hye saved him in time, making his comrades outside also afraid of Min-hye's strength. Min-hye asked the two to go down to the secret warehouse to hide. Under the floor of Ji-yeon's uncle's office, office, there was a door that could lead to the Mirtha Help Center. Minhye promised Jong Jin-man that she would protect Jian to the end. Minhye continued to fight against the crowded mercenaries outside so that the two of them could escape. Jian and Jongmin each used a bulletproof target to move to the warehouse. The long-haired Lee Sung-jo immediately informed the mercenaries of the situation. He fired a shot that made both of them stagger. When he was about to fire another shot, he was already in Minhye's sights, but her bullet deflected to the subordinate driving in front. Jian and Jongmin also safely entered Jong Jin-man's office. At this time, the mercenaries also attacked. Minhye immediately ran in and signaled Jian to go down to the warehouse. Then she pulled the door closed so she could stay and fight alone. Jian opened the code box and tried to enter her uncle's birthday, but could not open the warehouse door. In the critical moment, Jian suddenly remembered that her uncle had told her to memorize her student ID number, so she pressed that number. Then suddenly the door opened, and underneath was a secret room with many types of weapons. Suddenly a masked man pointed a gun at the two of them and introduced himself that he was brother. Above, the mercenaries began to break into Jong Jin-man's office, and Minhye was also standing to wait. The mercenaries entered and searched everywhere when suddenly the light in the room was turned off. The first mercenary was taken down by Minhye. The girl used binoculars to penetrate the darkness to shoot another bullet. Then the mercenaries returned fire fiercely, but Minhye managed to climb down below. Outside, Lee Sung-jo could no longer get in touch with the mercenary team leader. He took the bag of cakes that his dead junior was eating and said that "Rest in peace, idiot." He leisurely nibbled on the cakes and waited for good news from the mercenaries on duty inside. The assassin Minhye used her agile movement to continue to take down a few more mercenaries. Bored with using guns, she switched to using knives to knock down the remaining mercenaries. As a result, only Captain Kim was still breathing. Minhye suddenly appeared to attack and used her wind-fast movement to dodge the bullets from the captain. After that, she was hit hard by this captain. Minhye got up and pinned Captain Kim down. He bit her hand hard with his teeth and then pressed Minhye down. He intended to use a knife to finish her off, but Minhye stopped him in time. Unexpectedly, that he was cut by Minhye's poison knife, so after a while of fighting, he fell, and Minhye stroked his eyes to make him leave more peacefully. Down in the secret room, the hooded man introduced himself to Jian as brother. He threw out a pair of handcuffs and asked Jian to handcuff Jongmin. Jian also picked up the handcuffs and turned back around. Then she kicked Jongmin's leg. Jian attacked and successfully restrained the stranger. The girl strangled him until he could no longer struggle. Then they both discovered that all of Jian's living areas had surveillance cameras under this secret room. From school to part-time job, even the bathroom had surveillance cameras. Jian immediately kicked this brother. Then she pointed the gun at him and asked that, "Since when have you been following me? Was it my uncle who told you to do these things?" Brother begged Jian to prioritize supplying bullets to Minhye, who was above. He told that the others were coming. The boss said that things wouldn't end here. We need to go out to provide more bullets and medicine to save Minhye. Jongmin went to explore the secret room and turned on the power switch. The light from the bulb blinded brother, and he said in a panic, "If I'm exposed to light for a long time, I'll be in a lot of pain. Please turn off the light." Jian continued to ask how long he had been following me. Then both of them covered themselves with raincoats to help brother not be blinded anymore. He began to tell the story since he was brought here to live. But the friend Jongmin used a cloth and stuffed it in his mouth so that brother couldn't pretend to be pitiful to receive pity from Jian anymore. Then Jongmin went to explore the quality server system below this secret room. Suddenly, brother pointed at Jongmin and asked Jian not to trust him. Then, brother ran away. Jongmin immediately picked up the gun and went searching with Jian. Brother held a syringe and tried to attack Jian from behind, but she kicked him hard and he flew away. Jian continued to chase after him and fell into a hole. Brother also pressed the button to close the hole. Then he flipped the switch to turn off all the lights in the secret room. Brother put on a pair of glasses that could see through the night. Then he used a stick to hit Jongmin's back hard. Then he used a dog chain to chain Jongmin's neck. Jian can also observe everything from below the pit, because there is another monitoring system below this pit. Brother tied Jongmin up and stuffed his mouth with cloth. Then he started communicating with Jian through the monitoring screens. He asked Jian to open the second drawer. Jian opened the drawer and saw the Mirtha Help handover document. Brother started reading the rules in the handover document. If the owner of Mirtha Help, Jong Jin-man, dies or is absent, then his niece, Jong Jian, will inherit the entire Mirtha Help Center. That means Jian has to manage all tasks such as accounting and human resources management. After disseminating the 10 rules in the Mirtha Help takeover regulations, brother immediately asked Jian if she agreed agreed to take over this shopping center. She should write down her decision on paper. Jian immediately wrote down the words, "Agree," and continued asking that, "Are you sure you will listen to my orders?" After brother nodded, Jian immediately asked brother to let her go. He also pressed the button to open the hole so Jian could crawl up. Brother continued to tell the girl that his boss had predicted that he would die and that this Mirtha Help Center would be attacked, so Zhang Jinman had planned to arrange everything properly. Jian immediately snatched the gun from brother's pocket and asked him to let Zhang Min go. Brother immediately said that he could not, because the boss died because of Zhang Min. After that, brother also unchained Zhang Min's hands and was given a powerful punch by him. Jian immediately pointed the gun at Zhang Min and told him to stop. Zhang Min asked if she really believed what brother said. Brother also took the opportunity to chain Zhang Min's neck. Zhang Min kept asking Jian to trust him and told her that, "Don't you remember how we almost died just now? I also helped at your uncle's funeral. How could I be the one who caused his death? This guy has clearly been living in this basement for so many years. He installed a camera to watch you, even when you shower." Brother immediately said no and affirmed that her uncle definitely did not leave this world by himself. Brother said that Zhang Min went to her uncle, then her uncle died, and told her to open the video file 0404 to know everything. Jian went to the computer and also found the file 0404. Zhang Min immediately stopped Jian from clicking on it. "If you click on it, all the doors here will be disabled and the assassins outside can rush in." Brother kept urging Jian to click on it quickly. Zhang Min then told her that when Jian was locked in the school warehouse, he was the one who ran to tell Jian's uncle. Jian felt shaken when she heard this and stopped opening the file. Jian looked at the surveillance camera and saw Minhei alone fighting the mercenaries outside, so she asked brother to go upstairs to give the woman the gun and medicine. Brother immediately put on his backpack and decided to leave the glasses for Jian as a gift for her. Then he told Jian that no matter what happens, she should not leave this center. Then he put on his woolen hat and went upstairs. Brother went to find Minhei and she pointed a gun at him. Brother immediately said, "Sister, it's me," and took off his mask. Minhei also realized that the boys she had met before had grown up a lot. Downstairs, Wen was pulled up by Jian. Zhang Min hugged Jian tightly and said, "Thank you for choosing me, and you know, when you were little, I was also the one who locked you in the school warehouse." Suddenly, Jian was injected with a drug in the neck by this guy, causing her whole body to sway. Zhang Min started sitting at the computer to control the Mirtha Help shopping mall. Jian looked at Zhang Min through her glasses and saw that he was wearing a recording pen. Jian asked who he was. Then Zhang Min called the leader behind it all and reported that he had entered the Mirtha Help Center. Jian was also tied up by him. He said that he would hand over the Mirtha Help shopping center to the leader within 3 days. At this time, the leader also ordered Zhang Min to kill Jian. Zhang Min immediately pointed the gun at Jian. The girl asked if he was the one who plotted to lock her in the warehouse at school when she was little. Zhang Min also told all the story for her. "I was curious about whether you were really mute or pretending to be mute. That's why I urged the other 3 to lock you up and see if you could speak in a difficult situation. You should be grateful to me for helping you overcome your aphasia. Do you want to know what happened? There's a place called Babylon. When I first got out of the army, I told my computer engineering classmate about the weapons trading website that I hacked, but this friend didn't believe me and was afraid of going to jail if I got involved with that illegal website. But that website really interested me. A while later, when we got back to the apartment building, there was a guy with a crew cut waiting on the ground with a hostile look in his eyes. When we got to the room, we saw another guy with the same face as the guy we met earlier. The leader asked Zhang Min, "Did you hack Mirtha Help?" Then both of them were beaten up by the crew cut guy. The leader of the Babylon organization, Li Yonghan, gave both of them some time to practice his channel hacking skills. While that friend was extremely panicked, Zhang Min remained calm and continued to operate. In the end, Zhang Min was the one who found the real website address of the Babylon organization before the time ran out. So, that friend was coldly dealt with by the crew cut guy. When Zhang Min saw this, he didn't show any fear and even asked the leader Li Yonghan, "Will you clean this place up for me?" The leader showed Zhang Jinman and Jian a photo. Then he gave Zhang Min a mission. Right after that, Zhang Min held a flyer looking for part-time workers and went to Zhang Jinman and introduced himself as Jian's elementary school friend. So Zhang Min was immediately accepted by Zhang Jinman to work at the agricultural water pipe factory. But Zhang Min was a weakling and tried to be as gentle as possible. He secretly placed a hidden camera on Jinman's boss's desk. Then he used the camera to film every corner of the store. When he hadn't found anything suspicious, he received a message from the leader asking him to find the Mirtha Help Center within 1 more more day, so he pretended to have a stomachache and asked to go to the restroom. He held the memory card in his hand. Then he went out and tried to find the location of Mirth Help's storage devices. Suddenly, Jinman's boss's voice rang out. Jungmin looked around and saw a speaker on the ceiling. Jinman walked in and said, "I installed this speaker so I could easily talk to Jian from the warehouse when she was still living here." Then the boss Jinman asked Jungmin to fix his computer. Jungmin was very happy when he heard that. He checked the computer and said, "Jian and I were very close in the past." Jinman was suspicious and said, "She was very rude in the past and didn't have any friends." When he saw that this guy answered rather hesitantly, Jinman also left so that Jungmin could continue to fix his computer, but there was already a camera installed in the back. Jungmin proceeded to insert the memory card into the computer to copy all the data. In the basement, Brother also watched all of this guy's operations. Jungmin returned home and received a message from the leader asking if he had hacked into Mirth Help yet. Surprisingly, he received a notification that the connection had been successful. At this time, Jinman was also logging into his Mirth Help shopping mall. Jungmin was now able to access Mirth Help's massive shopping mall, making him extremely excited. He realized that someone was coming in, so he immediately typed to install something more. The crew cut guy with a gun walked in and was about to finish Jungmin off. This hacker immediately said, "If you kill me, everything will be in vain because I've already installed it." The crew cut guy immediately connected Jungmin to talk to the leader Li Yonghan. Jungmin said, "If I died, Mirth Help would restart from the beginning because I had set it up so that only I could access it." But the leader still ordered Jungmin to be killed. Jungmin immediately begged and said, "You have seen how good I am. I am smart and good at hacking. I have a great plan for you to take down Jung Jinman and get Mirth Help." Back to the present, Jungmin now opened the folder 0404 to watch and played the video of him being suspended in the house by boss Jinman. Then Jinman went to the restroom, but the camera was turned off right then. He showed Jian the memory card and said that was how he made Jian's uncle leave this world. He plugged the memory card into the computer to show Jian the video. At that time, Jinman heard Jian's niece's cries for help over the phone. Jungmin tried to say, "If you kill me, Babylon will kill Jian immediately. Let me go, then Jian will be safe." Jinman kept listening to his niece's cries for help and said to Jungmin, "I will do as you say. Let Jian go as you promised." After that, Jinman called to say his last words to his friend Passon and then went into the bathroom. But Jinman suddenly turned around and said to Jungmin, "Tell Babylon to keep their promise," then cut Jungmin's rope. Jinman immediately went into the restroom and closed the door. Jungmin untied the rope and slowly walked into the restroom. When he opened the door, he saw Jinman lying motionless in the bathtub. Jian burst into tears when she saw the last image of her uncle. Jungmin laughed happily. Jian asked, "I haven't said those words for help." Jungmin admitted that he used deepfake technology to simulate her voice. He asked the owner of the convenience store where Jian worked to help him record her voice. He started practicing for Jian to see and continued to say, "I thought your uncle was so smart. In the end, he fell for my low-level trick and ended his life by himself. I didn't expect things to be so easy. Maybe because I'm so smart, the Babylon organization chose me." After a moment of being panicked, Jian burst out laughing and said, "You are just a henchman pretending to be smart. Do you think you will survive after leaving here? Since my uncle is dead, I am the only one with a green code left, and there are definitely many people who will protect me. What about your Babylon organization? They won't care about your life or death. Did those killer planes avoid you? You are just something they can use. Now you should negotiate with the only one with a green code. That's me." Jungmin seemed to lose his temper, so he stood up and shouted at Jian to suppress her. When he saw that the girl was still cursing him, he grabbed her hair and pointed the gun at Jian's head. The girl kicked Jungmin's leg and used her legs to clamp Jungmin down tightly. Jian knocked Jungmin down and lost a tooth. Then, she kicked him and pushed the chair hard to attack Jungmin. Jian jumped down and tried to open the door to get a gun, but Jungmin shot her many times. Jian immediately hid and was pursued by Jungmin. The girl immediately took a rope and a bottle of chemicals to find a way to resist. Jungmin called on Jian to surrender while looking for her. "Your uncle is not a great person. He must have killed many people. The world we live in does not distinguish between good and bad people. There are only strong and weak people. Someone like Jung Jinman died because of my trap. That means I am stronger than your uncle." Suddenly, he slipped and got caught in the rope. Then he was hung upside down by Jian. Jian immediately hit him on the head. Jungmin was scared and begged her to spare her life, but Jian still kicked him like a ball. Up above, Minhei was now bandaging the wound. Brother told Minhei that Jian had to solve the problem herself. The boss had told her to find a way to survive. Jian was not a weakling like that. Brother used a hammer to smash a wall and discovered many other guns hidden inside. Outside, a robot robot was mobilized to prepare to attack the house. This robot only needed to jump once to fall from the sky to the ground very smoothly. Then, it ran at the speed of a leopard to run into the house. Another team of mercenaries was also mobilized to enter the house. Brother proceeded to close all the rolling doors of the house, but the robot dog had broken into the house in time. Min-Hai used a gun to attack this robot, but it moved extremely quickly. The mercenaries outside also began to attack. Brother immediately asked Min-Hai to retreat inside and close the roller door. The robot was about to fly in when Min-Hai fired a bullet and it flew backwards. The robot also promptly blocked the roller door so that the mercenaries could get inside. When everyone was inside, the door also collapsed. Downstairs in the secret room, Jian began to read the personnel transfer file of Mirtha Help. Uncle Zhang Jinman gave his niece two choices. 1. If she wanted to escape from this, she could use the back door of Mirtha Help to escape. At the end of the road, she would have a new identity and some money to start a new life. There was also the phone number of the person who would help her start a new life. 2. If she wanted to join with the people who were fighting to protect her, she would turn to the next page and follow the instructions. And in the end, young Jinman said, "I'm sorry for putting you in this situation." Jian now stood in front of the exit and felt extremely confused. Above, the robot began to drill a small hole in the wall. The mercenaries began to put on gas masks. Min-Hai and brother also put on masks to look for a chance to survive. The robot inserted the nozzle to spray gas inside. Suddenly, it was pulled up to the top with the door and was released to fall freely to the ground. From inside, a bomb was thrown. Min-Hai flew out and used her two claws to clamp down on a mercenary. Then she spun around with her gun and shot down a few more mercenaries. Min-Hai hid behind the sofa to avoid the rain of bullets from the remaining mercenaries. The girl now loaded the gun and began to rush out to counterattack. Min-Hai flew to knock down a soldier, then continued to take down a few more. Brother and Jian stood behind the bulletproof glass and called for Min-Hai to retreat here. Brother provided cover fire so that Min-Hai could retreat inside. The captain stood up and started to counterattack. Then Jian took out two grenades. Min-Hai started to pull the pin so Jian could throw them towards the mercenary team. The two grenades started to explode, making the long-haired Lee Sung-jo outside feel confused. The robot control team also could not receive the signal from the robot anymore. Inside the house, the three of them followed a tunnel to the bathroom and proceeded to bandage Min-Hai's wound. Suddenly, the leader of the mercenary team burst in and shot Min-Hai once. He grabbed Jian's hair and dragged her outside. Brother ran out to stop him but was kicked away by him. Jian also rushed to attack but could not withstand the powerful strength of this tall soldier. He continued to throw Jian to the ground once more. Then he looked in the mirror at his almost crushed face. He reported to Lee Sung-jo that he had captured Jian, but of the entire mercenary team, only he was still breathing. Lee Sung-jo ordered that Jian be captured alive, but this gangster wanted to give the girl some scars on her face. He used a knife to prepare to give Jian a cut on her face, but was stabbed from behind by someone, and that was Uncle Pasin, Zhang Jinman's friend, and also Jian's martial arts teacher. Jian immediately hugged his master. Pasin announced that Bale was coming here, the one who killed Jian's parents. In the control room of the Babylon base now, Bale was also ordering the twin brothers to go into battle immediately, and the story that led to the deep hatred between Zhang Jinman and Bale started 14 years ago. Jinman was the captain of a professional mercenary team at that time. At that time, Jinman's mercenary team was tasked with escorting a businessman from abroad back to Korea safely. At this time, Lee Sung-jo and Bale were fighting in a nearby place, and Bale was a man with a rather crazy and bloodthirsty personality. The young mercenary Song-won went into the building to find Bale. He discovered that many civilians had been killed. Then he witnessed Bale attacking an innocent married couple. At this time, Lee Sung-jo also entered. This soldier recounted that he had seen Bale kill civilians. Lee Sung-jo also killed his comrade Song-won to cover up the clues. When the captain Jinman entered, Lee Sung-jo said that Song-won rushed out to save civilians and was shot down by the rebels. Jinman immediately closed the eyes of this young soldier. From behind, there was a boy holding a gun in his hand. Bale coldly pulled the trigger. Then he told Jinman that there could be no witnesses. Jinman reported to the leader Lee Young-han that the bullet that pierced Song-won's body did not come from the rebels, but the leader immediately dispelled Jinman's suspicions about Bale and continuously praised him as a natural-born elite machine. He said, "I believe the only person who can control Bale is you, so please give him a favorable testimony in court." Jinman felt extremely frustrated but agreed and made a condition. "From now on, don't let Bale participate in any mission that I command." After that, Bale had to appear in court in a foreign government. When the female lawyer asked Lee Sung-jo about the mercenaries killing civilians in the administrative administrative building, he blamed the rebels for everything. Then the female lawyer invited the commanding officer Zhang Jinman to be a witness. When the female lawyer asked, "Did you see the defendant Bale kill civilians with your own eyes?" Jinman immediately looked at Bale and decided to follow the words of the leader, Li Yonghan. So she also answered, "I didn't see it." After that, the court in the host country also declared Bale innocent due to lack of evidence. After hearing that, Lee Sung-jo was extremely happy for his comrade, and Bale also showed an extremely arrogant attitude. Sometime after returning to Korea, leader Lee Young-han still decided to let Bale join Jinman on the next mission, because this was a very large drug supplier from Laos to China. If Jinman failed in this mission, the company would have suffered a huge loss. The superior manager asked Bale to join this mission together. The leader said that this time, there will definitely be no civilians. This was the last time, and after this mission, he will remove Bale from Jinman's mission. The leader showed a picture of a man named Ta-o and asked Jinman to catch him before Bale kills him. Jinman stepped out and said straight to Bale's face, "This time, you can't act on your own like last time, understand? I will catch Ta-o. If we meet any locals, we will hand them over to the police, understand?" Bale showed a rebellious attitude, but then reluctantly nodded in agreement. The mercenaries went to Laos and entered the building where Ta-o was staying. The twins found two men without weapons. The twins asked Bale to hand them over to the police, as Captain Jinman had told them. Bale threw them a knife to fight with him. He then coldly killed the first man. The other man was killed by one of the twins. At this time, Jinman and Pasan were chasing Ta-o. When he crawled into the room, Pasan caught him and captured him alive, along with a pile of money on the bed. The mercenaries on Bale's side received the news that Ta-o had been captured and were very happy. Lee Sung-jo searched and found a very unusual room. When he shined a light inside, he saw 4 women inside. Bale looked inside and saw a woman begging for her life. Bale immediately asked them to stay put. Then he threw a grenade inside. Jinman and Pasan heard the explosion and immediately went over. Jinman looked inside and saw that the 4 women had died. Lee Sung-jo explained, "When I found them, they were all dead." Jinman immediately asked Bale, "Did you do it?" Then the two sides started pointing guns at each other. Bale immediately challenged Jinman to pull the trigger. Lee Sung-jo spoke up to stop them and asked everyone to put down their guns. Captain Jinman also put down their weapons. Jinman ordered to blow up the place and return to base. After that, many time bombs were placed all over the building. Jinman entered the room of the newly captured Ta-o. He found someone hiding in the closet. A woman jumped out and attacked Jinman. That was the girl Min-hae later. Jinman immediately put a coat on Min-hae and decided to save her life. Then, when everyone was about to return to the base, Jinman asked Pasan and Jun-chol to drive first. He would stay here. Jinman went inside the building and held Min-hae's hand to run outside before the bombs exploded. Suddenly, Bale appeared again, blocking the way. Jinman immediately fired a shot and continued to take Min-hae away. Bale continued to jump down to block Jinman's head and shot him once. Jinman stood up and asked Min-hae to run first to escape. Bale then told Jinman that, "I want to become a mercenary because I like killing people. Thanks to that, I can make money by killing as many people as I want. Don't force me to follow your rules of protecting civilians. We're paid to kill people anyway, so stop being so righteous. It makes me feel disgusted." Then the two of them started fighting with knives. After a while of struggling back and forth, Bale kicked Jinman to the ground. He was about to swing the knife to kill Jinman when someone shot him in the eye. The person who pulled the trigger was Min-hae. Jinman then stabbed Bale many times. He told Jinman, "If you don't kill me now, I'll kill your family, your friends, and everyone involved, and finally you." Jinman immediately picked up the gun and pulled the trigger, but it was out of bullets. Then the bombs exploded, but Jinman and Min-hae managed to escape outside. Jinman returned to the country and told the investigation team, "Bale and I fought with the rest of the people in the building. When the bomb exploded, I was standing near the door, so I was lucky to escape. I also didn't have time to look for his body." After that, Jinman handed over the gun to leader Lee Young-han and announced that, "I want to rest for a while." The leader immediately called to send someone to follow Jinman. While Jinman was sitting at the bus stop, he realized that someone was following him. When his friend Honda went to pick Jinman up, he immediately signaled Honda not to come to him. But his friend Honda promptly threw the car key to Jinman. Jinman called his real brother, but he was scolded for where he had gone and had been missing for 8 years. Afterwards, Jinman also returned home to reunite with his family members and his niece Jian. As for Lee Sung-jo, while practicing shooting on a cliff, he discovered someone approaching. It was Bale, who had just returned from the dead with one eye blind. Jinman also asked his friends to pack a package to send from Laos to Korea. His friend Honda received the package and was extremely shocked to discover that there was a girl inside. Min-hae immediately took out her phone to communicate with this deaf boy. Jinman asked Honda to let Min-hye stay with him for a while. Jinman's family started taking a whole family photo to celebrate the reunion. But soon after, the mother had to be hospitalized because her illness got worse. The mother also told Jinman, "Remember to take care of Jian and help your siblings. I have lived a life without any regrets. I am so happy that you have come back so that I can see you one more time before I die." That night, a shipper delivered a package to Honda's hardware store. Honda took the package into the house and opened the door to his secret room. Honda started to open the package. When he looked through the camera, he saw someone loitering in front of his store. Honda immediately took a gun and went outside. Min-hye saw the gun parts on the table and was very excited. Honda went outside and discovered that the person who broke into his store was Jin-man, so the two hugged each other to celebrate their reunion. When Min-hye saw Jin-man enter, she immediately ran to hug him tightly and said, "I missed you so much." Honda was surprised to see two guns neatly assembled and placed on the table. After that, while sitting and talking together, Honda assured Jin-man that Bale was dead because no one could survive such an explosion. Honda also asked Jin-man to open an online shopping mall with him. "Because my younger brother is a computer genius, he can do everything on a computer, and Min-hye assembled that gun herself, even though I never taught her." At the Babylon organization's base now, Lee Sung-jo is planning to kill Jin-man and all his family members. Jun-chol expressed his opposition to this plan because Jin-man's family is innocent. Lee Sung-jo immediately threatened, if Jun-chol doesn't participate, his two children at home won't be at peace. This made Jun-chol extremely angry. Then Bale went into the hospital room where Jin-man's mother was lying. He proceeded to cover the mother's mouth until the electrocardiogram turned into a straight line. The medical team rushed in to save her, but it was all too late. Later, at Jin-man's mother's funeral, the older brother prevented Jin-man from examining his mother's body. At this time his niece, Jian, kept dropping and breaking things, so her uncle Jin-man drove her home. As Jin-man drove away from the hospital, Lee Sung-jo's car drove in. He immediately called the technical team who was in another car. The technician immediately deleted his image from the surveillance camera. Then, Lee Sung-jo entered the funeral and introduced himself as Jin-man's old friend. He asked the married couple to help him carry the wreath here. He led the couple to a rooftop. At this time, Bale and his accomplices were also waiting there. While driving, Jin-man texted his friend Honda. He asked Honda to check the surveillance camera at the hospital for him. At this time, Jin-man's sister-in-law was crawling on the ground begging them to spare her husband's life. Lee Sung-jo told his sister-in-law that he would stage a scenario. Her husband found out she was having an affair, so he killed her. Then he ended his own life. At this time, Bale also stomped on Jin-man's brother. The sister-in-law was also murdered by Lee Sung-jo. The crew cut guy put the knife in the brother's hand and threw him down. At home, Jin-man received a phone call from Jun-chol's subordinate. Bale was still alive. He was on his way to Jin-man's mother's funeral with Lee Sung-jo. Jin-man immediately texted Honda to ask him to protect his niece Ji-an. As soon as Honda immediately left the house, did the younger brother be angry because Honda had promised to stay home and eat barbecue with him tonight. Honda promised that he would definitely come home before dinner. Honda then left the house but seemed quite reluctant. Jin-man also promised Jian that he would return soon. Honda immediately drove his motorbike to the house to protect Jian. There was a man trying to break down the door of the house. Honda immediately appeared and dragged him out. He put an iron bracelet on his hand. After a while of fighting, he was able to knock down the intruder. Honda went into the house and showed Jian the answer to the cat. Lee Sung-jo and his subordinates were also waiting outside. Honda immediately told Jian to go into the room. The subordinate holding a gun entered but was ambushed and defeated by Honda. Lee Sung-jo was outside that he heard the gunshot. Honda was shot. Lee Sung-jo stepped forward and fought with Honda. After Lee Sung-jo lost a tooth, he counterattacked and knocked Honda down. Jian looked through the crack in the door and saw the uncle who had just come to save her being tortured. Jin-man immediately drove to the hospital and tried to text Honda. Suddenly his car was blocked in an underpass. A woman ran up and asked Jin-man to lend her phone. From behind, a truck hit Jin-man's car hard. From the truck, Jun-chol and the mercenaries began to get off. They continuously fired at Jin-man's bulletproof car. The woman whose car had broken down earlier was also their accomplice. Suddenly, the back door of the car opened slightly. Inside the car, Jin-man was holding a machine gun and continuously attacking the mercenaries. The leader Jun-chol was ambushed from behind by Jin-man and stabbed in the hand. The assassin attacked with a gun, but Jin-man used Jun-chol to block the bullet for him. After that, Jin-man also escaped. At home, Lee Sung-jo found Jian swinging outside. After that, she let go and landed on the sofa on the ground. Jian started to run away but was hit by a car, so they stopped chasing Jian. The two men began to break into the Honda electronics store to search for Min-hye. She observed it through the camera and immediately hid. They entered Honda's secret room, and one of them had a bucket of chemicals poured on him. Min-hye immediately used a gun to finish them both off. The girl put on her backpack and pressed the destroy button to burn down the house. Pasan returned home and found the door had been broken, so he grabbed a weapon for defense. Unexpectedly, he saw Jin-man lying on the ground with a wound in his stomach. Pasan proceeded to remove the bullet from Jin-man's body. Pasan said, "I don't want anything to do with Babylon anymore. If you wake up, go." Jin-man asked Pasan to give him a gun. He said to Pasan, "If you help me, I will leave immediately." Pasan expressed his disappointment that Jin-man tried to kill Bail and did not follow Babylon's instructions, but then Pasan also gave Jin-man a gun with 13 bullets inside. After that, Jin-man also left. The accomplices outside watched the hospital camera and informed the long-haired man of the right time to act. Jian also discovered that someone was entering. The long-haired man broke into the hospital room, and Jian managed to sneak out. Jin-man took down 2 accomplices who were in the car. Then he saw the long-haired man entering the morgue to find his niece. Jin-man restrained one of them to use as a shield. Then he fought with the long-haired man. After a while of fighting, Jin-man finally knocked down this long-haired man. Jin-man opened the door of the storage room and carried his niece away. Bail also went to the hospital at this time and saw Jin-man holding his niece in his arms. He pulled out his gun and prepared to deal with both uncle and niece. Suddenly, a line of people walked out of the funeral home. After that, Jin-man also disappeared. Leader Lee Young-han from Babylon returned home and met his grandson waiting to celebrate his grandfather's birthday. The son came out to announce that there were guests at home. The leader walked in and saw Jin-man playing with his grandson. The leader still tried to be cheerful in front of his whole family. Jin-man put the gun on the table and told the leader that there were 5 bullets left in the magazine. Enough for your nephew, your son, your wife, and daughter-in-law, and there was still one for you. I've been here for an hour, but I didn't do it. But my mother, my brother and sister-in-law, even my friend all died. Is that punishment enough for what I did? If you stop, I will bury everything until I die. The leader immediately called Bail and said, Jin-man said he would stop. Can you stop? Bail laughed loudly after hearing that. Jin-man told Pasan, Babylon could stop, but Bail couldn't. I need a long-term plan. Jin-man took Pasan to a remote area, and together with Pasan, drew up a plan to build an underground store. Jin-man went to find Honda's younger brother and called on this computer genius to join with him from now on. While walking in an alley, Min-hye was followed by a stranger. The girl immediately used a gun to resist, but was quickly neutralized by Pasan. The two began to negotiate with each other. After that, Jin-man also drove Jian to this house to live. Brother had worked hard to help Jin-man build the shopping mall. As for Min-hye, she was trained and educated by Pasan, but Jin-man was always haunted by the thought of being avenged by Bail. Back to the present. Pasan carried Min-hye onto the bed and proceeded to remove the bullets stuck in Min-hye's body. Brother explored a wall and smelled gunpowder in the cracks of the bricks. The young man realized that Jin-man had secretly set a trap there. Jong-min was suspended below the secret room and began to wake up. He struggled and finally cut the rope and fell to the ground. He intended to enter the password to go up but did not know what the password was. He decided to sit at the computer to hack into Mirtha Help's management system. Min-hye woke up and heard Jian telling her, "Don't die, sister. And you like my uncle, right?" Min-hye immediately injected a dose of painkiller into her body and informed Jian that Lee Sung-jo would be here soon. Pasan announced that they needed to go down to the store to take shelter, but brother immediately ran in to stop them. Pasan said, "I was the one who dug up that store. It's safest to go down there now." But brother explained, Jin-man had already set traps in there. If we go in now, it will explode. Even Pasan wouldn't know about these traps. For during the past 14 years, the boss and him have been taking turns. The store has never been left unattended. If there is no one there, the system will assume that there is danger. All machines will automatically shut down within 24 hours. We only have 20 hours and 30 minutes left. But someone has already hacked into the store's server. Then brother checked and informed Jian. It was Jong-min who hacked into the mall's server. I had already told you not to trust Jong-min. Suddenly the robot dog woke up. It started spinning around due to a short circuit. Then it emitted extremely strong ultrasonic waves that made all 3 people deaf. Pasan used his gun to attack, but the robot still didn't stop. Brother was in so much pain that he fainted. Pasan asked Jian to follow the tunnel in the restroom to escape. Jian immediately woke brother up and pulled him inside with her. Min-hye was about to use the gun to hit the robot when a car rushed in. On the car, the 2 twins got out. Lee Sung-jo also got out, but the door got stuck. One of the twins fired a shot at Min-hye and was attacked by Pasan. Pasan immediately invited his 2 former teammates to go to hell together together today. These two also put down their weapons and used knives to fight Pasan. The three of them started to rush at each other to determine the winner. Lee Sung-jo went into the room to find Ji-an and whispered, "When you was little, you escaped from me through the window, but today there was no window for you to jump through anymore." Then Ji-an rushed out but was knocked down by Lee Sung-jo and fell to the ground. Brother immediately attacked from behind to rescue Ji-an, but was quickly knocked down by Lee Sung-jo. Then brother climbed on top of him so Ji-an could run away. Ji-an ran to the other side of the car. She saw her master Pasan fighting fiercely with the two twins. At this time, Lee Sung-jo also pulled out his gun and fired many consecutive shots at brother. One twin rushed forward to attack Ji-an but was stopped by Min-hai. Pasan used a broken painting to kill one and shouted at Ji-an to run away. The twin was heartbroken by the loss of his brother, so he fired many shots at Pasan. Ji-an ran into her uncle's office and Lee Sung-jo followed. Ji-an immediately ran away and decided to pick up a gun from a dead mercenary to defend herself. Lee Sung-jo entered and saw the mercenaries who had infiltrated earlier lying motionless on the ground. He confiscated the ring on Captain Kim's hand and put it in his mouth to bite to see if it was real or fake. Suddenly the lights in the room turned on. Ji-an walked out and asked Lee Sung-jo if he killed my parents. Suddenly Ji-an heard a noise behind him and turned around. Lee Sung-jo also took the opportunity to run away. Jong-min climbed up from the secret room. He saw a machine gun lying on the ground, so he picked it up and fired wildly to the upside. Then he loudly scolded Babylon for being a damn organization. He said, "I was the one who killed Jin Man, and now you guys are trying to take credit of me." Lee Sung-jo heard this and felt insulted. Jong-min continued to pull the trigger, but the gun was out of bullets. Lee Sung-jo calmly stepped out and said, "Idiots often waste bullets." Then he used an axe to kill Jong-min. Ji-an climbed down to the secret room of the shopping mall. Lee Sung-jo looked down at the secret room and discovered that Jong-min was on his side. But now he realized that it was too late. He also went down to the secret room to find Ji-an. Ji-an tried to break the lock of the armory but found that Lee Sung-jo had already arrived. Lee Sung-jo looked at the shopping mall that Jin Man had created and whispered that he must have made a lot of money. There was a reason why Babylon wanted to take over this place. He realized that Ji-an was up there, so he fired several shots, but Ji-an dodged them in time. Lee Sung-jo started wearing laser goggles and placing laser bombs all over the room. While doing that, he also admitted, "I am sorry for killing your parents, but your uncle also killed a lot of people because we were on the same team. However, your uncle destroyed my teammates. If you have any grievances, blame your uncle. He died and let his niece, who was in loving age, suffer terrible thing like this." While Ji-an was moving, she passed by a laser bomb. It exploded and sent Ji-an flying far away. Lee Sung-jo also took the opportunity to attack Ji-an. Ji-an immediately fought back, but her gun ran out of bullets. At this time, she saw a gun lying on the ground. Above, the remaining twin followed the secret passage in the restroom. He went to a wall that looked like a secret door. He kicked the door hard, and it started to explode loudly. Ji-an bandaged her own wound and burst into tears when she remembered the choice to start a new life that her uncle had prepared for her before. On this side, brother was now awake because he had already worn a bulletproof vest. Below the secret room, Lee Sung-jo was searching for Ji-an when the forklift suddenly turned on its lights. Ji-an drove the forklift straight towards him. However, Lee Sung-jo managed to dodge, but unfortunately for him, he hit the laser bomb that he had placed earlier. Lee Sung-jo flew away and fell on the pile of chemicals that Ji-an had placed above before. Lee Sung-jo challenged Ji-an's courage. The girl then shot at the chemicals on the ground, causing the fire to spread to Lee Sung-jo. However, the store's fire suppression system was activated again, so the fire on Lee Sung-jo's body was also extinguished. He was about to rush forward when Ji-an shot him in the forehead. Min-hye was woken up by Pasan. Brother went down to the shopping mall and saw Ji-an sitting on the ground, along with Lee Sung-jo lying motionless. Brother also informed that Uncle Pasan and Sister Min-hye were still alive. Brother checked the Mirtha help system and praised that Jong-min was really good. He didn't expect him to be able to penetrate the security. Suddenly, brother realized that there were many cars driving to this base. Perhaps they were the killers who had cooperated with Jin Man before. Outside, many gangsters were driving in cars and holding weapons in their hands, approaching the house. They began to gather and prepare to attack inside to capture everyone inside. Brothers searched and found out that the Babylon organization had put all of them on the hit list and had offered a reward of $1 million for each person. That's why so many killers were gathered. Brother immediately asked Ji-an how to solve the problem, since she was in charge of this place now. Ji-an immediately asked brother to open the armory door. Then she took an axe and hit hit the ground. Up above, Pasan informed Min Hai that they had sent more people. No one would be able to enter the shopping mall, so Jian would be safe. The two of them would have to fend for themselves. A large number of assassins entered the warehouse containing the agricultural plastic pipes. Brother came out in a hood, wearing a sign that said, "Please do not shoot," and had a megaphone in his hand. From inside the secret room, Jian began speaking through the microphone. "Hello, all customers. I am the new owner of Mirth Help and Jin Man's niece. First, I would like to give a gift to the customers who have come here." Brother then threw out the severed head of Lee Songjo. Jian admitted that she had killed Lee Songjo with her own hands. 6 people in the warehouse, 6 people in the living room, 6 people in the garden, a total of 18 people with red codes. If everyone returns now, nothing will happen. The $4 million bounty that Babylon has offered, I will divide it equally and transfer it to each person without any tax deductions. From now on, everyone can trade with me normally. Everyone's codes will also be maintained. I can even offer a better price than my uncle. However, if everyone still wants to continue to take this position from me, everyone will have to die here. I will count to 3 for everyone to make a decision. At this time, the assassins began to put down their weapons and completely agreed to the attractive offer that Jian had made, so they all retreated. This made Brother also breathe a sigh of relief. When Pasan entered the room, he saw that Min Hai had already let go of her body. Brother went down to the secret room, his body trembling from the dangerous thing he had just done. Jian went upstairs and walked around to look at his messy house. But when Jian entered the room, Master Pasan and Min Hai were nowhere to be seen. Jian stepped outside and burst into tears. Then, she collapsed and screamed loudly because of the horrifying things she had just experienced. Suddenly, a bus arrived. Jian immediately took her gun and ran towards it, preparing herself to fight the other assassins. From the bus, a bearded uncle got off. Jian recognized this as the driver who had transported her uncle's ashes to the cemetery. This uncle had a yellow coat and came here to help clean up the scene. Then, from the bus, many people brought specialized equipment to clean up all the scandals in the base that Jian was the boss of. The uncle advised Jian to go to the shopping mall because there were still many dangers outside. A staff member ran over to announce that a car was coming. Jian stepped out and saw that it was the taxi of the driver, a close friend of her uncle Jin Man. Suddenly, Jin Man came out from the back seat alive and was helped by a friend. Then, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. Today's movie ends here. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos. Bye.